cameras. Let me present Enrique Traver, our speaker today. He is married with Sue Traver. He has 5 children and 7 grandchildren. Enrique, he's an attorney and an economist. He's the executive president of Copagri, which is a Brazilian in industrialization of raw material and commerce for agricultural products firm. He was born in Spain, but he lives in Curitiba, Brazil, in the state of Paraná, Brazil, for over 50 years now in the south of Brazil. He's a student of the Urantia book ever since 2009. He was the president of Urantia Association Brazil since February of 2016 until February of 2020. He's the host of the Urantia Book Study Group of Curitiba, Brazil since 2014. And currently, he is the president of Urantia International Association ever since 2021. Thank you so much, Enrique, for your excellent willingness to serve as always. Please go ahead. The conference is all yours. Thank you so much, Jeannie, for that introduction. Great. Hello, beloved brothers and sisters. Thank you so much, brothers and sisters, for all of you that I know for being here with us. Thank you, everybody, for uniting or joining us. In fact, I think we have an audience which is mostly Spanish speakers right now. So if that's the case, I think we should make our presentation in Spanish because the majority of the people seeing are in Spanish speakers. But obviously we have translation, as Jeannie said, into English and into Portuguese. Thank you so much to everybody for coming here. Today we're going to speak about a topic which is really enchanting. At the same time, it requires that we pay quite a lot of attention and pay and have dedication and will and have a will to serve the Father and serve our brethren. I am going to share my screen. I'm going to share so that everybody is able to see it. If you have any doubts, or if you want to ask any questions, you feel free to do so, and even interrupt if it's necessary. Preferably, we would maybe solve any doubts or questions after the presentation. Please take note of your questions. That would be the best, and keep them there. And with pleasure, we will try to answer any questions you may have right at the end of the talk. Okay, so let me share my screen, which I hope that all of you are able to see at this particular moment. Very well. This is a presentation which we're doing on behalf of the Urantia International Association via the Education Committee, which the president of this Education Committee is Jeannie Vasquez. And Jeannie, well, please, she has honored me to give this brief talk. I hope that we can share many things that we all think are mutually interesting. The topic of our presentation today is the value of this revelation to all of humanity. During this presentation, we are going to see topics that may be worrisome for some of us, some issues that can maybe make us feel apprehensive sometimes, but also we're going to see so many other good things as well, very good things that can maybe ascend our optimism or shoot up our optimism related to our future. So we're going to maybe give you a few things that we should expect from the revelation. So here I'm going to tell you what Jesus actually said in document 143 1.4, which says, in an age to come, the gospel which I declare to you will rule this very world. Of course, all of us can understand that Jesus said that this gospel that Jesus proclaimed at any given moment in a future age will actually govern this world called Urantia. So yes or yes, this will happen. But there are other questions that we can try to answer here, because this affirmation was done by Jesus while he was within us, while he was with us. So one thing that we can actually ask ourselves is, if Jesus at that particular moment already knew that we might have had problems in the development of our work as a missionary people, in order to disseminate his teachings, he already knew that we were going to run into problems. When he says that this gospel will govern this world in a future age, well, I believe that we can think that Jesus he actually knew that his gospel would possibly suffer distortions, or maybe not be properly applied as he would like it to be applied. But either way, without a doubt, this gospel is the one that will be affirmed at one time and will continue to rule our world. So our purpose, or the purpose of our existence, basically, is to reach a spiritual level. Many people may question themselves about how to accomplish this. And via science, via philosophy, or by acquiring knowledge, even money, or if this is a matter which is completely spiritual. Well, let's see what the book tells us. Religion, and when we talk about religion, we need to understand that this is an intimate relationship between the individual at a personal level with God, with his father, her father. So we're not speaking here about churches, nor are we speaking about temples. This is a question about the individual, about the person, about the personality, making its connection with his or her celestial father. So religion is the instrument that allows man or women to expand cosmic consciousness and elevate spiritual perception. And it can assure your survival via the transmutation of matter into spiritual self. So there is no other way of achieving the Father or achieving spirituality or spirit, which is not via this personal religion. We can have as much money as we want. We can have as many goods as we would like. We can have culture, even wisdom, thousands of things. However, none of those things whatsoever are capable or will allow us to reach God and make this transmutation of matter into spirit. So all other things are also desirable and necessary in this world. I understand that. But at the same time, they have to be subordinate to the truth of the spirit, the truth of spirituality. In another fashion, they're simply things that are momentarily in existence, but they have no possibility of survival or of subsisting and continuing in an environment which is merely spiritual, if they don't actually include all of the conditions of our personal spiritual religion that our Father gave us. So humanity, therefore, is developed based on two types of religion. We have evolutionary religion, which is the religion that is developed by human beings throughout time, by men or women, that as people advance, they actually build or construct this religion. We'll speak more about this later on. And we have revealed religion, which is the voice of God, which actually comes to us via celestial beings, multiple celestial beings. Man is born with that spiritual potential. That's why he or she should evolve until that spiritual level is accomplished. And definitely, that spiritual level definitely has to go on to coordinate, which means govern all the other areas of the human being, such as science, education, customs, morality, sociology, philosophy, politics, economics, etc. You cannot reach the Father with economic knowledge. We can't achieve the Father with policy, knowledge of politics or philosophy. Religions that allow us to achieve our Father, those religions, once we have these spiritual conditions, then we can work and adjust all the other areas and all the other work that we have in human life. Therefore, that is the biggest challenge that humanity has. It consists precisely of making the necessary adjustments that we need to make in the achievements that we make in all of these areas of human activity, which obviously many times advance quicker than our spiritual reach in spiritual capacity or attainment. So the challenge precisely is to adjust these achievements that were attained so that they can be in agreement with that truth of our spiritual reality. That is our challenge. Because when we develop in the future or in an expanded or in a future ways, any area, when we actually expand upon any sector of human activity, when we get good at it, well, we have a risk without having an elevated spiritual reality. We run the risk of maybe supposing things or having conditions that we suppose that not always reflect the truth and not always reflect spiritual reality. Therefore, that's why these attainments that we achieve, obviously, they have to, at one moment or another, once we elevate our soul and our spirits, they have to go through scrutinium or fine-tunement so they can be adjusted. And that is the challenge that we have, because men or women are very attached. They're very submissive to all of their beliefs. So therefore, it's very difficult for man or woman to change their ideas once they assume something as truth. Let's continue. We're going to speak a little bit about evolutionary religion, which is that religion which is developed by men and women as they advance in this life. So religion, or evolutionary religion, is born from a simple fear from the all-powerful, the fear that embraces human mind, which is facing the unknown, the unexplainable, and the non-comprehensible. That's what the revelators tell us. Evolutionary religion is more sentimental. It is not logical. We react to our fears, to our anguishes, to our anxieties before this, to moments of happiness or whatever, in order to construct or build that religion. We do not construct this based on logic. It's a reaction of man to those beliefs in a world which is hypothetical, of phantasm spirits, which is the reflection of human belief, excited by the realization and the fear of the unknown. The role of evolutionary religion, or the purpose of primitive evolutionary religion, consists in conserving and increasing essential social values as well as moral and spiritual values that little by little take shape or become formed slowly. Progressing in this is very slow. We become like if we were in slow motion. Evolutionary religion is the mother of science, art, and philosophy, which elevates man to the level of receptivity of revealed religion, which means before we are able to receive any revelation, it was necessary for us to begin with our own selves, with the spiritual influences that are around us, to develop a religion which originally was based on the fear of the unknown and the fear of unexplainable things. And it was precisely that development of that evolutionary religion that allowed us to, at one moment, begin to receive a revealed religion, which basically means the voice of the Father as manifested by all of our celestial brothers and sisters, including the gift of the thought adjusters and the coming of the Spirit of truth. So, therefore, here we can actually see that revealed religion, once it is made known to us, precisely it has the objective or the purpose or the mission to actually clarify all those divergent points or that are not truly the spiritual reality, in order for us to be able to, in our evolutionary realm, to make the necessary adjustments based on the religion that was revealed to us. Nonetheless, as we develop this evolutionary religion, we have certain impacts in the human environment. We have to catch our attention about the fact that religion was essential for the development and the preservation of civilization. Without religion, natural religion, it would be impossible for us to have achieved development and the preservation of civilization. Religion, natural religion, which is the same thing as evolutionary religion, has also done a lot to also hold back civilization at the same time, which at the same time it promotes it in different matters. So on one side, obviously it's essential to preserve civilization, but on the other side of things, it also makes many other things difficult in terms of civilization construction, precisely because why? We have difficulties ourselves of changing our belief systems that we have already incorporated and established within ourselves. And that it puts a halt to not allow us to leave those dogmas or those situations that we ourselves created within us. So religion has created obstacles to industrial activities and economic or financial development. It has misspent and wasted work and capital. Not always has it been useful for the family, and it has not promoted in an adequate fashion peace and goodwill. Sometimes it has even not cared for the teachings and actually delayed science. In reality, that religion sometimes has actually unduly impoverished life for the supposed enrichment of death. Evolutionary religion, which basically is human religion, in effect, has been the culprit of all of these things and many other mistakes, errors, and non-attainments. However, that same religion has also kept us with cultural ethics, has kept civil morality and social coherence. And it has made it possible for revealed religion to more recently be able to compensate these many evolutionary defects. So obviously, it still has its value. So how can we adjust for the mistakes of evolutionary religion? only two influences can actually modify and elevate the dogmas of natural religion. Obviously, the first one of which is the pressure that comes from established customs in slow advancement, because this moves little by little. But society changes, men and women change and modify their habits, and little by little, these dogmas become eliminated. These dogmas become to be changed in order to modify itself to better situations that cater to a more appropriate action. The other possibility is related to periodic illuminations from revelations. So the Father, in his revelations, like the Urantia book, for example, or like what Jesus came to teach us, this is not a frequent occurrence. He only does that whenever we truly need. The Father is present, obviously, in our minds at all moments with our thought adjuster, of course, trying to lead us toward him, yes. But, and we're obviously going to speak about this a bit later on, but therefore, this periodic illumination in the form of epochal revelations and evolutionary beliefs, like in ghosts, actually set the columns or the backbones of revealed religion or philosophy revolved religion, which will finally destroy superstition at its origin, which that's the role of revelation, really, to destroy superstition at its origin. Well, so let's speak about evolutionary religion. No, we already spoke about evolutionary religion. Now let's speak about revealed religion. And what does this all mean? Revealed religion is a universal attitude that is derived from the spirit, the certainty of the conservation of eternal realities, the survival of personality, and the final achievement of cosmic deity, whose purpose has made all of this possible. So therefore, in order for this, that's what revealed religion is useful for. But only revealed religion can be made truth and spiritually moral. So therefore, when the revelators provide us with a revelation, they may not be revealing everything related to truth. We may not be able to understand certain parts of that truth. So they try to maybe limit their revelations to our capacity of understanding. But always, what is revealed is truth and is spiritually moral. The characteristic difference between evolutionary religion and revealed religion consists in a new quality of divine wisdom that is aggregated or added to human wisdom, which is purely experiential. Revealed religion is the unifying element of human existence. Unified revelation unifies history, coordinates geology, astronomy, physics, chemistry, biology, sociology, and psychology, and many other things as well. That's why before we commented or said that it is necessary to make the necessary adjustments in evolutionary religion in order for that religion can become adjusted according to the truth of the revelation that is given to us. So at any given moment, that revealed religion will actually put us in a situation where we have to look at all of the achievements that were attained and we'll have to make the necessary adjustments to that reality once this revelation is given to us. Evolutionary religion leads the individual to an idea of the personal duty. Revealed religion accentuates love more and more, which is the golden rule. Revealed religion is exposed by the true spiritual world, which are celestial beings. It is the response of the super intellectual cosmos to the mortal hunger that wants to believe in universal deities and trust in them. Evolutionary religion illustrates the tortuous attempts of humanity in the search for truth. This cannot be in any other way. Once our work of evolution is basically go from imperfection to perfection. That's our duty. So within this trajectory, within this adventure, many times we are going to make mistakes. That's simply part of the process of evolution of man. So that evolutionary religion illustrates all of our attempts to do good and make good to what we have to do. But many times this is tortuous or difficult in that search for that truth. Revealed religion is that same truth. So we have to merely look at revealed truth and, well, this is true. This is what I have to follow. This is what I need to do. This is what I have to commit myself to search for spiritual realities in this revealed context. Let's continue to speak about revealed religion. The revelation is the technique to leading unity into the understanding of reality and into the relationships of matter and spirit by the mediation of the mind. Revelation is a successful bridge that leaps in between material and the spiritual and the material, and between the creature and the creator, a leap between the man and God. So that means that we are looking at all of this via our own evolution. We seek to find God in one way or to justify everything that we do not know about, and that we have that anxiety to search for truth and try to find truth. And that's why so many times we make so many mistakes. But revelation, precisely what it does, it becomes a bridge to allow us to face these difficulties that we have in this material realm. And from the spiritual, which is not clearly perceived by us many times. And this revelation is what can actually lead us to have a direct contact between the creature and the creator, between man and God. Faith reveals God to the soul. Revelation, and this is a very important point here, the substitute of morontial discernment within in an evolutionary world, which means when we actually reach morontia, we have an instrument which is called mota, which allows us to recognize and to get closer to these spiritual realities. And it's going to be of great aid without the need of so much faith as we need here. We're going to be able to have direct contact with the spiritual world via mota. The revelation within our physical world, that's because we don't have mota. It's the actual substitute of morontial discernment within in the evolutionary realms, and it actually enables man to actually see within nature that same God that via faith is manifested within his or her soul. Revelation is the only hope that evolutionary man has, and I'm going to repeat, it's the only hope that evolutionary man has to build a bridge into the morontial bridge. That's what we just spoke about. Faith and reason without the help of Mota cannot conceive, nor can they construct a logical universe. Without the vision of Mota, mortal man is unable to discern goodness, love, and beauty, truth, beauty, and goodness in the material worlds. Therefore, that is the role of the revelation, to give us the condition, to provide the condition once we do not, since we don't have this Mota instrument here, by these revelations, we're going to be able to recognize all of these truths that we believe via our faith, and we know it's true within our heart in the construction or building of our souls. We continue to speak about revealed religion. Evolutionary religion creates its gods within the image and what mortal man believes. Revelationary religion tries to transform and evolve mortal man in the image of God and the likelihood of God, which is very different. Those two things are very different. Religious revelation is essential for the realization of brotherhood on Urantia. Let's not make mistakes here. Let's not be mistaken. There is no possibility to realize brotherhood or sisterhood in Urantia if we do not develop and adjust our religion according to revealed religion. The realization of social brotherhoods or sisterhoods in our world depends on the achievements of the next personal transformations and planetary adjustments. Obviously, planetary adjustments can only happen if we do our own personal transformation first. The planet on itself does not make any type of adjustments. It is us that once we are transformed, then we can jointly, in brotherhood or sistership, promote these planetary adjustments. We had 5 revelations thus far. We're not going to speak about all of them, but we've had 5 epochal relations. We had the planetary prince, we had Adam and Eve, we had Melchizedek of Salem, and Jesus of Nazareth, which was our 4th epochal revelation. And finally, the documents revealed within the Urantia book, which we're dealing with today. Very well. And all of these revelations, what the revelators tried to transmit to all of us is related to the concept of the fatherhood of God and the consequent brotherhood of man. In every revelation, that is the truth that is present. But we are slow in order to assimilate and understand these revealed truths. And we spoke a little bit about this before. So therefore, why does it take us so much time to understand these truths? And how do we commit to the expected results from these revelations? Because if we do not understand, and if we don't assimilate these revealed truths, then obviously the revelation is not going to achieve at that particular moment the desired results that the revelators wanted. So we return to this issue that we said at the beginning, that Jesus said that this same gospel that I have proclaimed now, one day in the future will rule your world, will rule Urantia. Therefore, it does not matter that we at any particular moment are not able to understand nor assimilate this revelation. It doesn't matter. It will continue to be here present in order to always elevate us to the expected finality by the revelators, perhaps in a distant future, maybe, but that will definitely occur. We're going to see how these things actually occur and discover how we can commit to doing this by analyzing the results that we produce after the 4th epochal revolution, which precisely was the coming of our Michael incarnate as Jesus amongst us. And that was, he shared the gospel of the fatherhood of man, of God, and the brotherhood of man. And here he revealed the kingdom of heavens, the kingdom of the Father. So let's see what actually happened here. When Jesus came, he had a mission. In that fourth epochal revelation, Jesus said, I have come unto this world to do the will of my Father and to reveal his character, his loving character to before all humanity, to all humanity. This is, my brothers and sisters, my mission. And this is the only thing which I will do. We do not, Jesus did not get involved at any moment in economic matters, politics, social issues, or whatever it was. The only worry that he truly had, and the only work that he employed 100% with all of his heart by Jesus during his earthly mission, was precisely that, to do the will of his Father and to reveal the loving character of God to all of humanity, of that fatherhood of God. So that is the only thing that I will do, despite the Jews and the Gentiles of that age or other generation will interpret or misinterpret my teachings. Be whatever they may, those mistakes that were committed by your brethren in the organization of today's world, the gospel, I declare, will govern this same world in a future era. That's where we came up with that first phase when we started this session. The final purpose of human progress is the reverent recognition of the fatherhood of God and the loving materialization of the brotherhood of man. So that is the work that Jesus came to do amongst us. And he did this very clearly. But since, as we spoke a few days back, Jesus told us that this gospel, like it or not, it will govern the world in a future age or in a future era, as we said a few slides back. Not days back, sorry. So I believe that Jesus actually foresaw what would actually happen after his parting from us, after his leaving us. And that's why at a given moment, Jesus provided instructions to his apostles. Jesus tried to make his apostles understand the difference between his teachings and his life amongst them, and the teachings that subsequently could come about him. Jesus said, my kingdom and the associated gospel with this should constitute the message of the topic of your message. That's what Jesus wanted us to work on. Do not deviate by preaching about me and about my teachings. Proclaim the gospel of the kingdom and describe my revelation of the Father in heaven. But do not be deviated by the paths of creating legends and creating a cult that has to do with beliefs and teachings about my beliefs and my teachings. It could not be clearer than this. Jesus gave clear instructions what the role is, or what is the expected work by all those that go out in order to proclaim his gospel, which is very simple. The fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. That's it. That is what we have to learn. Everything else that we create, everything else that we believe around this is unnecessary. And even worse, it has complicated many of our lives. Let's continue to push forward. Well, after such a message, what did the apostles do after receiving this message? And here I wanted to say that it's not about criticizing the work of those that are dedicated, those dedicated apostles. They, like us, had well intentions, had good intentions, and they wanted to do things correctly, yes. But unfortunately, they did not really understand the message that was left by Jesus, and they did not practice Jesus's instructions. So therefore, I'm a passionate study person. I study all of these apostles, but it's important for us to understand what they did so that we will not make the same mistakes. Let's talk about this now. The results of the preaching of Peter on the day of Pentecost were such that they decided the future policy and they determined the plans of the majority of the apostles in terms of their efforts to proclaim the gospel of the kingdom. Peter was the true founder of the Christian church. Paul took the Christian message to the Gentiles, to the Greek believers, and took it to the entire Roman Empire. Even though the Hebrew, chained by traditions and dominated by priesthoods, denied as a people to accept the gospel of Jesus about the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man, like also they rejected the proclamation that Peter and Paul made about the resurrection and the ascension of Christ. On the other hand, the Roman Empire was found to be receptive to these teachings, these Christian teachings under evolutionary Christian teachings. Western civilization at that particular moment in that era was intellectual and was tired of wars and was profoundly skeptical about all of religions and philosophies about the existing universe. Forgive me. The peoples of the Western world, whom were the beneficiaries of the Greek culture, they had a tradition that was venerated of a magnificent past. They were able to contemplate the inheritance of those great achievements of philosophy, art, literature, and political progress. But with all of these achievements, they did not have an actual religion that would satisfy the soul. Their spiritual hopes continued to be unsatisfied. Well, we continue with the work that the apostles did. About this forum of human society that we just spoke about, the teachings of Jesus were quickly thrown out. This situation meant that there was an immediate conflict between the old religious practices and the new Christianized version of the message of Jesus onto the world. So therefore, the apostles, they were not happy with simply proclaiming the gospel of Jesus, which is the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. History teaches us that this fight ended with much conflict in order to adapt and adjust religion that the apostles created to that world of that era. So our dogmas, our mistakes, our errors, all of these situations in terms of the search for truth and that we created in order to substantiate an idea that we are doing things well or properly, and at the same time, in order to accept the conditions that were showcased at that particular moment from each society, so that society would accept the message of Jesus. So therefore, that's why we had all of those bartering, and that's why religion of Jesus included so many other things that were adapted that had nothing to do with this religion were incorporated. So therefore, Christianity presumed, they tried to embrace too much in order to be assimilated by a peoples in only 1 or 2 generations, which is really impossible. It was a simple spiritual calling, which was basically the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. That was the true spiritual calling, as Jesus had presented unto the souls of men. But very soon, they adopted an attitude about religious rites, education, magic, medicine, art, literature, law, government, morality, rules, sexual reglementation, polygamy, and in a limited fashion, even slavery. So at the end of the day, we transformed this religion into a document, into something that was in order to govern civilization and to lead governments and to lead sexual regulations and rules and many other things at that. Christianity did not come simply as a new religion, something that the entire Roman Empire was waiting for, and the East as well. Christianity came as a new society or order for society. And this pretension, it quickly presented social moral conflicts of the centuries. And we're going to speak a little bit more about that as well. Wisely or unwisely, these first leaders in Christianity deliberately committed the ideals of Jesus or compromised those ideals in an effort to save many of their own ideas, and they had enormous success at that. But do not be mistaken, those ideals of the masters, which were actually sacrificed during those mistaken moments, are still latent or dormant within the gospel, and with time, in the future, they will affirm their pure power unto the world. Because of the paganization of Christianity, the old order won many minor victories in terms of minor natural rights, but Christians did gain ascendancy in terms of a more elevated outbreak of human morality, a new concept of God, which was considerably amplified, the hope of immortality. And Jesus of Nazareth was actually delivered to the hungry soul of man. So not everything was in vain. However, we're now going to speak about the 5th epochal revelation, which is precisely the Urantia teachings. In our attempt, and the revelators say, in our attempt to expand cosmic consciousness and elevate spiritual perception, when we speak about cosmic consciousness, many people have difficulties understanding what they mean by cosmic consciousness, but the revelators, a little bit later on, because this first phrase is in paragraph 2 in the prologue, or a bit after, the revelators say a little bit later, cosmic consciousness, and here they explain what they want to mean by this, implies the recognition of a first cause. So the only reality, uncaused reality, is not simply the cosmos, is not simply an idea of planets or astros or suns and these things. It's also just that first cause. But the most important thing of the cosmic conscious is precisely the recognition of a first cause. And that first cause, a little bit later on, the revelators tell us that God, the universal Father, is the personality of that first source and center. So therefore, cosmic consciousness implies recognizing the fatherhood of the universal Father. And therefore, that's why that consciousness is the one that can elevate our spiritual perception. So looking at the planets, looking at the suns and stars, understanding the cosmos as something physical alone is not able to elevate our spiritual perception. That spiritual perception can simply be elevated if we understand that God is our Father, and therefore we are all brothers and sisters. The Urantia book, the fifth epochal revelation, once again, the revelators seek to transmit this concept of the fatherhood of God and the consequent teachings of the brotherhood of man. The revelators within the publication mandate tell us that we consider that the Urantia book is characteristics of progressive evolution of human society. It is not related with those spectacular episodes of a revolution of the ages, despite apparently it can be programmed in order to appear in some of these or one of those revolutions in human society. The book belongs to the coming age. So the revelators anticipated all of these problems that would be produced by this Christianity that we implanted within the world. They, knowing what would happen, they created a new revelation so that we were able to be prepared, because this book belongs to the coming age, the age that comes immediately after the conclusion, after this current ideological fight. When the revelators told us this, many of us thought that they were speaking about communism. Personally speaking, I think no. I think that they are speaking here about precisely this moment that we are living in right now, and that we're going to discuss a little bit later on. But the truth is that the revelators do not speak about what that fight, that ideological fight would be. They don't speak about, but they do tell us that immediately after the conclusion of the current ideological fight in the mandate, it says that that will be the day when men will be willing to seek truth and rectitude or righteousness. That for me, it means that when this chaos of confusion passes, what they talk about, it will be easier to formulate the cosmos into a new and improved era of human relationships. And for this better order of things on earth, that the book was prepared for that time to come. That's what the publication mandate stipulates. This paragraph here, I think, is extremely important for us to be able to understand what the revelators did when they gave us the Urantia book with all of its teachings before its time, so that we can prepare ourselves for the coming moments, for what comes next. We have to have this very clear, so that we don't commit those same mistakes that we committed in other ages. Let's continue. Let's speak now about the fifth epochal revelation, which is the results of what happened with Christianity, about what secularism and materialism means. That's the moment that we're actually living through right now. So it says, modern secularism has been promoted by two worldwide influences. What are they? The father of secularism was that attitude of the so-called science, which is an atheistic science of strictly looking at things without a God, from the 19th and 20th century. The mother of modern secularism was the totalitarianism of the medieval Christian church, which means that when we built the Christianity as we built Christianity, we created conditions so that religion, that Christian religion, would be longly rejected We created the conditions for rejection, and that revolution basically is that secularism that had its beginning as a protest against that domination of Western society by the Christian medieval church at an institutional level. Very well. Great power was required, powerful influence was required in order to free the thinking and the living of Western peoples from that destructive embrace of totalitarianism by ecclesiastic domination. Secularism broke the chains of the control of the church. And now, at the same time, it threatens to establish a new atheistic dominion in the hearts and minds of modern man. The political, tyrannical, and dictatorial state is the direct inheritance of scientific materialism and philosophical secularism. Secularism does not free man of the domination of institutional church, when instead it sells him, and that's the word, sells him to the slaving embrace of a totalitarian state. Secularism frees man of ecclesiastic slavery only to betray man by providing and handing him over to the tyranny of political and economic slavery. I'm not sure if it's only I that see what this is happening, what's happening in the world. I don't know if it's only me or if you share this way of thinking as well. But for me, that's the fight, that ideological fight that is currently happening, that we are living through right now. Now let's speak about how the 20th century was. The Urantia book reaches humanity in 1955. In the 20th century was dominated by materialism and great confrontations with secularism. It was an age of much invention in terms of communication, radio, TV, the internet, and the power of the press. So therefore, here, it allowed us, or propitiated and allowed us to have great development in technology, communication, and science, and all of this. And that in itself advanced very deeply and really ahead in terms of, it went way further than the evolution of the spirit that we needed to have. That's why many times, many of those things have to happen sometimes because of adjustments when we're able to achieve and we're able to develop, improve spirituality. Well, the world population at the beginning of the century was 1.6 billion people. When we ended this century, we were already 6.1 billion people, according to Google. So we had a growth of the population of 4x. That's a lot of people. Many things happened, and many needs exist for all of these new peoples. Lots of people have so many needs, and therefore, precisely at this particular moment, that led us to the moment that we are currently living in right now. At the moment that this revelation came, the intellectual climate and the philosophical climate that prevails in European life as well as in American life is decidedly secular. You owe to secularize rebellion, that extraordinary creativity of American industrialism and material progress without precedent of Western civilization. Given the fact that secular sublimation went too far and lost God from sight and lost true religion. It also produced a non-intentional harvest of world wars and international concerns. We saw World War I and World War II and conflicts in Africa, Asia, the East, West, and so many other things. The inherent weakness of secularism consists that it throws out ethics and religion in pro of politics and power. We cannot establish the brotherhood of man if we ignore or deny the fatherhood of God. Therefore, that's why we say that there's a fight that is currently happening right now, and men and women will discover that all of this materialism and all of this secularism that we actually implanted in humanity cannot bring us happiness, cannot make us be wellly successful, truly successful. We have to return to God and recognize his fatherhood plus the brotherhood of man. Once this moment occurs, once it fills us, once this moment which has filled us with unhappiness and tribulation because we're not achieving that happiness that we want, once we realize, that's when man will truly turn to think about God and will seek out to satisfy his or her spiritual hunger. That's why the revelators tell us that the book has been designed, has been prepared for that moment, that era. So let's speak a little bit about the 21st century, the current era. Day-to-day life has a work crisis. The rich world in confrontation to the poor world, immigration, xenophobia, violence, consumerism, neo-Nazism, global warming, oil and gas crisis, the crisis of water, the crisis of human society. That is how we were able to define the moment. That's how we can define our current moment in the 21st century, which is our current era. We have access, democratized access, global and total access to information and knowledge by the communication media. The internet marks the beginning of a new society, the society of information. However, without God, without religion, scientific secularism cannot coordinate ever its forces nor harmonize its interests, races, or nationalities, or divergent and rival nationalities. Pay attention here. Look at what they say, what the revelators tell us here. This secular human society, despite its materialistic achievements without parallel, is gradually becoming disintegrated. The major force of cohesion that resists or tries to stop this disintegration of antagonism is nationalism. And all of us are hearing about this, continually speaking. We keep hearing about nationalism. And nationalism, at the same time, is the major barrier for world peace. That's document 195, 810. And we say that the revelation was given to us, is giving us all the truth, but we're not able to understand the truth. But everything that the revelator says is always true. Remember, everything that has been revealed is truth. And I believe this wholeheartedly. When the revelators tell us that the book belongs to the era immediately after the conclusion of this current ideological fight, what current ideological fight were they speaking about? Whatever that fight may be, man will soon discover that none of those current ideologies can bring peace nor the unity of human races. That will be the day when man will be willing to search for truth and righteousness. So what do we achieve with all of this? What are the results that we achieve with all of this? This is also said by the revelators in document 195, 813. During the third part of the 20th century, Urantians killed more humans than those that were killed during the entire Christian dispensation up to this moment. And pay attention here. And this is just the beginning of that bitter harvest of materialism and secularism. Even more terrible destructions are yet to occur. I have no idea what the revelators are trying to tell us here, or what they know and that they know is going to happen. I have no idea, but they're telling us that it's going to be terrible destruction. Materialism denies or denies God. Secularism simply ignores God. A lasting social system with predicated moral about spiritual realities cannot last, given the fact that it would be the equivalent of thinking about a solar system without gravity. But even though when materialism and mechanisms have been more or less shattered, the revelations, what are they trying to say? More or less shattered, more or less defeated. What are they trying to say about that? I suppose that they're saying, well, things are going to improve. That's what I think. That's what I understand. That we're going to defeat this more or less, but not completely. That's why I say more or less. And they say the influence, the devastating influence of the 20th century secularism will continue to frustrate spiritual experience in millions of unwary souls. The challenges that we have before us. Men and women, modern men and women, intelligent men and women, I imagine that all of us are in that category here, evade the religion of Jesus because they fear what will be done to them and with them. And all of these fears are well-founded. The religion that Jesus, in effect, dominates and transforms its believers, demanding that men dedicate their lives to the search for doing the will of God in heaven, and that the energies of living will be consecrated in altruistic service in the brotherhood and sisterhood of man. So we may want to evade these responsibilities. We may want to, but that is the path. The egoistic, frankly, do not want to pay that price. The selfish do not want to pay this, not even in order to achieve that spiritual treasure, which is the largest treasure that has ever been offered to mortal man. Only when man has become disillusioned sufficiently because of those disenchantments that accompany that selfish search for egoistic search, and then afterward they discover the sterility of formalized religion, then will they be willing to turn their hearts back to the true gospel of the kingdom, which is the religion of Jesus of Nazareth. No social system nor political regime that denies the reality of God can contribute constructively and lastingly to the advancement of human civilization. But Christianity, like it is subdivided currently and like it's been secularized as it is today, represents the greatest obstacle for its own ulterior advancement. Especially this is true in the East. But we also have opportunities. A new and more open revelation of the religion of Jesus has been destined to conquer the imperialism of materials, secularity, and to defeat the worldwide influence of mechanical naturalism. And pay attention here, in which this is very important here. At this moment, Urantia is going back and forth into one of the ages which is the most surprising and captivating of social readjustment, moral acceleration, and spiritual clarification. So we have hope. Religion needs new leaders, spiritual men and women that dare to depend exclusively upon Jesus and his incomparable teachings. If Christianity persists in not undertaking its spiritual mission while it continues to occupy itself with social material problems, The spiritual renaissance will have to wait the coming of these new masters or teachers of the religion of Jesus that will dedicate themselves, we hope it's us, will dedicate themselves exclusively to the spiritual regeneration of men. The future. What can we expect in the future? Christianity, without a doubt, provided a great service to this world. But what we need the most now is simply Jesus. Many of us think, no, Jesus may have to come in order to solve these problems that we have. But that's not what the revelators are telling us. The world needs to see Jesus once again on earth in the experience of the mortals that have been born of the Spirit, which effectively actually reveal the Master to all men. So they're passing the baton to us. So we are the ones that have to do that work. Modern culture needs to be baptized and become more spiritual with a new revelation of the revelation of the life of Jesus, illuminated with a new understanding of the gospel of eternal salvation. And when Jesus is elevated in this manner, he will attract or bring men all toward him, will attract them. Jesus' disciples need to be more than simple conquistadors, filled with inspiration and an elevated living to be examples amongst all men. Truth, sublimity, humanity, and divinity, simpleness and singularity of the life of Jesus on earth shows us such an impressive matter of salvation for man and the revelation of God that theologians and philosophists of all times need to repress the daring to create creeds or create theological systems of spiritual slavery based on this transcendental self-bestowal of God in the form of a man. The inhabitants of Urantia, which is us, need to become free of those old errors and these pagan superstitions related to the nature of the universal Father. The revelation of truth about God is just beginning to appear, and the human race is destined to know the universal Father in all of his beauty of character and beauty of features or characteristics, which so much described by the Creator Son that lived in Urantia as the Son of Man and the Son of God. Yes, I'm hearing you, Jesus. Jesus, did you say something? No. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for sharing this word with us. The truth is, yes, I completely coincide with how strong this, like the gospel of Jesus, is how strong it is coming, and then the previous ages, how this wasn't, how the Urantia book is now revealing how it really is, which demands that we consider ourselves brothers and sisters and all of that which this implies. But I don't want to criticize, but I believe that, well, you being the president and the maximum, having the maximum honor, human beings do have criteria, perhaps a bit in contrast to what the collective has, what the general book says. And you're the representative because, and I know that because you're very, you're emphasizing on pushing something that's more than simply the gospel. And if I try to apply all of this conference, this is just another extension of the gospel, from what I understand. This is something that goes further than that. And therefore, this represents a little bit more of what you said about our responsibility to act, about what we actually have to undertake in our actions, each of us. Everybody has to do what they can according to their own teachings. And like Spain is not the same as Brazil, or Spain is not the same as Estonia or any other countries. However, I know that in the gospel of Jesus, it has been scattered and disseminated throughout the world so well. So I do understand what you're saying is true, but this can maybe, I think, this may become a bit more confusing sometimes. Well, thank you, Jesucho. Well, let's continue. Let's finish the past. Let's finish this, and then we'll discuss what you're telling us. As this, do not be sad. Human evolution continues to progress, and the revolution of God from Jesus will not fail. That's document 196, 3 through 33. The gospel that I declare, and Jesus is speaking here, will govern the same world in a future era. The final purpose of human progress is the recognition of the fatherhood of God and the loving materialization that brotherhood of the brotherhood of man. Religion is currently facing a challenge of a new era of scientific minds and materialistic tendencies. Within this gigantic fight amongst the secular and the spiritual, the religion of Jesus will at the end come out triumphant. Whatever it may be, the apparent conflict between materialisms and the teaching of Jesus, you may be assured that in the future eras to come, the teachings of the Master will completely become triumphant. In all of your efforts, those valuable efforts to free yourselves from superstitious creeds and past superstitions of the previous errors, be assured that you need to conserve the eternal truth. When the current rebellion against superstitions have passed, the truths of the gospel of Jesus will gloriously persist and will illuminate the path towards a new and major location. So once again, they're telling us that this current era of superstition will be overcome. And the call that the revelators are making to us, from what I understand, the revelators are inviting us to work. Christianity, without a doubt, provided great service to this world, they say, but what we need the most now is Jesus. The world needs to see Jesus living once again on earth, and those experiences of Jesus will have to be shown in the experience of mortals that were born of the Spirit, that effectively actually reveal the masters unto all men. And in the publication mandate, the revelators also tell us, you, Ham, who have dedicated your lives to the service of the book and brotherhood, you are just realizing how important your actions are. Without a doubt, you will live and die without being fully aware that you are participating in the birth of a new era of a new era of religion in this world. The future, the revelators tell us within the publication mandate again, the future will not be maybe understood by your mortal comprehension, but you will do well in diligently studying the order, the plan, and the methods of progress as they were decreed by Michael in his earthly life when the Verb became flesh. And the mandate continues, you should study, once again, study the times of Jesus on earth. You need to cautiously take note of how the kingdom of heaven was inaugurated on the world. And to gain souls for the master is not the first mile of compulsion or the first duty that will transform man and this world, but more, it's the second mile of free service and the loving service to freedom and liberty that corresponds to the Jesuits that know how to capture their brothers by love and guide that brother or sister toward a higher realm about the mortal existence. This calling, the call to adventure, to build a human society which is new and transformed by the spiritual renaissance of the Jesuit Brotherhood of the Kingdom, Jesus should produce excitement in all of us. To all of you that believe in him, as men have never been excited from the days that they walked on earth as his companions in the flesh. Do not be saddened. Human evolution continues to progress within the revelation of God to the man in Jesus and by Jesus, and it will not fail. Follow me. Jesus would say, I need you. Thank you so much. Well, here we're here and we can listen to anybody, any clarifications, any observations, any questions. Well, let's open up the floor for anything with pleasure. Yes, Victor. Victor, your microphone is muted. Please open it. Okay. I am very, very enthusiastic and very moved by these teachings. By I'm super, I don't know, just a lot. Why? Because it's the reality of what we're living and what we've lived in the past. I 74 years old now, and I've seen so many things in my life, and the Father has allowed me to get to where I'm at, and I'm seeing, and if He allows me to continue, let's see what else I can do. But with what you're teaching us, thank you so much. Really, the truth is, I really thank you. I'm learning so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Victor. It's important to consider that my purpose here is not to alarm nor to panic anybody, and that's not my purpose, nor to not be disconsiderate of what our brothers in the past did. No, no, no. Instead, we need to talk about the responsibilities that we have in order to push forward with the revelation that was given to us by the Urantia book. Javier, please go ahead. Well, good evening. Well, first of all, Enrique, thank you so much for your presentation. Truly, it was very motivational. It touched my heart, really. I think that you've really talked about the essence of what the Rancher book really wants from us. I wanted to ask you a question. Maybe you can recommend what can we do really in order to take the revelation to brothers and sisters that are not coming from the Judeo-Christian world. I'm talking about like Muslim brothers or maybe Taoist brothers, Hinduist brothers and sisters, Shintoism, these other religions that that share space with us on this planet. What would be our recommendation to get closer to these brothers and sisters that do not know about the existence of Jesus of Nazareth? Thank you for your question, Javier. Very timely. Oh, yes, of course. Well, it's obviously an enormous challenge to be able to disseminate the revelation in every corner of the earth. This is not a simple or easy task. However, it does demand commitment from us. We have to work, firstly, in ourselves first, so that we can reflect the light of the Father via our actions toward men. Somebody asked themselves once or suggested that bad or evil is a creation of God. Somebody had said that. And of course not. The revelators leave that very clear. However, God is light and made us in an imperfect fashion so that we can evolve. What God expects from us is for us to be able to allow that light to cross through us so that we can reach other people as well. What we don't want is to project the shadow, and the shadow in this particular case is sin and evil. If we do not reflect that light that the Father shines upon us, then how are we going to convince others that this is the path? So that is the first task. The second task is we have to be organized. We have to work together, which means there are so many projects out there that are working in parallel right now. So let's think about a situation here where we're at, for example, in La Mar. And in La Mar, several small ships are going in the ocean right now. Several oceans, all of these are in the ocean. Each of these are a different project in a vast ocean. And those projects are just appearing and they're popping up. And yes, of course, they have an important value, yes, and an important influence, all of these projects. But many of these ships or boats begin and end and leave. They no longer resist the situations of the world and the things that they have to overcome. So therefore, in the middle of that ship or that boat, and all in the middle of all of these boats, we have to have like a transatlantic ship, like a gigantic ship we need, which is composed by all of us. That we have to have the certainty and have the trust that that ship will never actually perish, because it has the unification of all of us in order to push forward with the mission that God gave to all of us. So we have to be that ship. In what way, though? We have to be organized in order for this. So in one way or another, that those small ships can continue to appear. Yes, but amongst those small ships, some of them are not desirable. That ship, this solid ship, that great big boat, has to have the inspiration that people will trust and say, listen, here, yes, I can actually anchor myself onto this ship by this big, great organization. When I talk about organization, I'm not speaking about a company. I'm not talking about one association. No, we need a team. We need a team where all of us can walk together. So therefore, yes, it is important to work with all of these volunteers that will adventure and with trust and dedication will adventure into bringing in more brothers and sisters to create an entire team of work to disseminate the teachings. But even more, we need to have the certainty of having a gigantic ship that will be always navigating and will never perish. That is the idea. Let's work together. We have to create a big team. We have to have coordinated efforts. And every case is a case. When we entered, when we go into a new country, we have to learn about their culture. We have to learn on what ways they actually act. What are their concerns? What are their worries? Accept their creeds. Respect them in their creeds as well. Respect their dogmas. And we don't just want to remove their dogmas of the people, but yes, we do want to fill their souls of these brothers and sisters with the truth of the Father, with clean water, so that all those dirty waters can freely exit, but in a natural fashion without us having to remove it. But little by little, each of them or each of us will be convinced ourselves of where the truth actually is and can find it ourselves and find the path of the Father and recognize the brotherhood of man on our own. So, Hector, I think I spoke too much, but what a pleasure to see you once again, Hector. Let's go on to the rest of you. What a pleasure. Welcome, brothers. Thank you, Enrique, for this conference. You really solved a very important doubt that I was studying the book yesterday about that we were in the next eras and we're like entering that new era where all of the teachings of the book are actually becoming more appropriate and trying to know more and more about the teachings of the books. And I'm convinced, and that's why I thank you so much for you solving this doubt that I had, that we need to continue, that, as you say, we need to be the people that sow the seeds. And as you said, we may not be able to even see the results of our actions in this lifespan. We may not see it ourselves. And that's an important clarification, yes. But that still does not shy away from the work that we need to do now. And each of us, and each of our actions, and each of the effects, and each of the examples that we have to be with our own examples, that and we've understood Jesus's example that we cannot change the world overnight, that this is not about politics and economies, that we have to that everything else is purely material. So spirituality is what we all need to work on our own spirituality, so that in the future, the future economists, the future politicians will be more spiritual themselves. So that is our task, so that little by little our authorities and different people can better understand, and maybe little by little will allow to the problems to actually solve their problems. So the work of each of us, the job that each of us has, yes, as I understand it, and I think in every conference and every meeting that I've here, I think that you've actually showcased how important for us is, and I know that we may not see the results ourselves, but we're doing something that is going to be very useful for the future generations. The work that we do today is going to be useful for the future. We have to be the example to future generations, and hopefully, as you said, and I'm convinced of this, hopefully we'll get here sooner than later to the light, the stages of light and life. So thank you so much, Enrique, for talking. Greetings to all of my brothers and sisters. Thank you, Hector. Very well. Very comforting words, without a doubt. Yes, Marianne Hughes, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Enrique. I was very inspired. I hope that it will be available for people to read in English. To answer the gentleman's question, one thing is to support Urantia Foundation translations and get those books into libraries in these different countries. That's probably one of the easier things. Well, not that it's easy to do translations, but you don't have to physically go to those countries. So that's my suggestion to help Urantia Foundation translate this book into as many languages as possible. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Geraldo Leche, my friend. Thank you. Hello, Enrique. Hello, my brothers and sisters. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my brother and president, because your presentation personally has expanded my vision and allows me to, and thank you for allowing us to interpret publication mandate and allows us to understand many new concepts, or especially documents that I understood in 196 and 195 and 196 that helped me clarify. I simply wanted to add to the two factors that you mentioned about the question that Javier asked, that very appropriate question, that our task as human beings has to be to pray as well. Because via prayer, our power becomes linked to the cosmos. And our prayer And our worship, obviously, when we integrate them and incorporate them together, they have the capacity to unify. And with this work, to help integrate not only our actions and our material human actions, but it also can influence the work that intermediate and midwayers are doing. And as citizens of our planet as well, that they can intervene as well and help us avoid those catastrophes that can possibly occur in terms of the planetary destructions that because of our selfishness and war and egoism can occur, and others related to the survival of our planet because we're actually contaminating and many other factors that we are risking. So I simply wanted to add this third element, which is very important, really, which is prayer, because our prayer can, even if it's very simple, it has a capacity to have an influence here and above. Without a doubt, Gerardo, thank you so much for bringing this to correlation to all of us. Thank you so much, Gerardo. Suzanne Sabino, what a pleasure to be with you. Brazil is present with you. Thank you so much. You can open up your microphone, so Miss Suzanne. Thank you so much for such a special moment and for helping me, for allowing me to participate in your presentation, Enrique. I was super happy, and you are very appropriate in talking about the current system. And I wanted to remind us of two statements that the Urantia says that for all of us, well, instead of a ship, the next participants, let's say like this is a chess championship, and that here on Earth, those of us that are here in the reserve are chess players. We're chess players, basically. So I would like to maybe go from the Rancha book. I want to talk about two ways of actually winning this chess game, which basically the chess game is our life on our Rancha. The truth about and the beauty about Enrique's presentation is that he talks about two successes that are shown to us in the Rancha teachings, and I put them in the chat here. I would like us to, and I would like to have Jenny to read that document, and the part that talks about how Urantia book students need to actually set our expectations in order to maybe help disseminate the fifth epochal revelation. And I put the different books, the different papers in the book. I don't know if Jeannie can read. There was 156.5.10. That would be the first one. And there we can actually maybe highlight the point that you're mentioning. Well, right now, unfortunately, we don't have time. Unfortunately, maybe if you can place the text in the text for everybody to read it, but I don't think we're going to be able to read all of it, and we can continue to, because unfortunately I don't think we have time. But we're so happy. But please put the text in the chat, and we can all read it. And the people that speak another language, you can try to find it in the book as well. Thank you so much, Sabrina. Forgive me. I actually put the two papers, 156.5 and 176.35. Everybody, please read those, I suggest, which are extremely important for us to read, because it actually talks about our talents and our obligations, and it also talks about the mind spirits and our mind helpers. The others are related to social problems and how to overcome them and how to solve economic problems. So we have two actual keys. Those documents are the keys, actually. So I'm not sure, but if you can actually read those are fantastic documents to give us. And thank you so much, and forgive me. No, thank you, Sabiana. It's always so good to hear you. A big hug. Hello, Pablo. How are you? What a pleasure to see you, Pablo. It's a pleasure, Enrique. Thank you so much for that beautiful presentation. I simply wanted to comment upon that in itself. You began to give us and talk about the history of how things change and how religion, evolutionary religion, evolves and changes, and that actually contributes to revealed religion as well in the future and the revelation. One example of this, just to give you a little bit of context, is when man began to fear God. And because of the fear of God, that belief of evolutionary religion, because of that fear, that allowed people to maybe not do certain things in order to control himself. And obviously, that was very useful at that particular time. But you also said in your presentation about revealed that only revealed religion can become truly moral and true. So, and it's like when Jesus talks about the God of love, about God the Father, about a close nearby God, and that's where we see how the revelation of truth illuminates our path, allows us to remove that fear now, and then if we consider God as being our Father, and evidently all of us as brothers and sisters, then we can actually and practice, exercise this new truth and a more spiritualized moral, being more coherent now with less fear and more brotherhood. And then you talked about a very important phase of showing us how this last century went actually. That's very important. That materialistic phase that we lived through, and that's true. It's completely true. And even more, how our current state of things is as well. And you summarize this in a way. And as I was listening to you, I was saying, we're in a crisis right now. We're completely in a tremendous crisis. But it's at this particular crisis moments when then the teaching of Jesus come to mind. And Jesus said, there's no more passionate adventure in the course of mortal adventure than the rejoice or happiness of acting as a partner of the material life that is unified with spiritual energies and divine truth in one of its victorious fights against error and evil. This is a marvelous experience and transformative experience to form yourself in the living channels of spiritual light that has eliminates the mortal, that remains in spiritual darkness. If you've been blessed with that truth, the needs for you should to overcome those needs should be a challenge. That challenge for you is for all of us as well, because the fact that we have revelations in the Urantia book, that in itself actually blesses us to actually have this and wanting to share it as well. At these particular moments when there's such a huge crisis, it's important to share these messages with the close people, with a friend that we come up with, inspired in Jesus, that always just walked around and always did well and always did good. If we try to promote these teachings, certainly at any given moment, obviously we're going to leave this crisis if we all do this, and the book is going to be prepared then for that coming era where we've put our grain of rice or grain of salt. Thank you so much for your presentation. Yes, that's true. Thank you so much, Pablo. We have Alfonso that has his physical hand raised, and first was Alfonso. Please go ahead, Alfonso. Okay, yes, very briefly. Okay. Good afternoon to everybody. Congratulations for that presentation. What a instructive talk. And but I also wanted to us to consider the diverse brothers and sisters like Jeannie and Javier and my colleague Arturo, which are that I'm seeing that they are there with lots of sincerity, taking this message, trying to teach and trying to help us. This is something beautiful. I had not seen this in the 20 years that I've been reading the Revelation, really. And I'm so happy how great that we have more and more people trying to teach. And just maybe to contribute a little bit to this conversation, the other day I was watching a program. It was called A View of the Future, where they were interviewing people that were dedicating their lives of working more in partnership and associations jointly without expecting so much in return, without like trying to work on climate change, things improve the planet without expecting things in return. And I really like the phrase that somebody said, which it was a Native American person said. They said, "What did they expect for the future?" They said, "What would you wish?" I wish that we can all find ourselves sitting down in a table, but in the spirit. because that's the only way when we'll really all understand what is all surrounding us. And I really liked what this Native American woman said, and it was very beautiful. There's programs that are dedicated to all of this, that they're actually seeing the advancements that we have, but that are actually related to progress, but without actually harming climate or society. That's the only thing that I wanted to say, and thank you so much. Thank you, Alfonso. Jeannie, who comes next? JP, I think it's his turn, or not?
Okay, thank you, Enrique. It was very interesting. I've been reading the book for 35 years, but I'm learning every day something new, and it was very interesting. And I found the Urantia book 2 years after I found the Alcoholics Anonymous. I went there as an atheist and blasphemer, but then I found God through the Urantia book. It was really interesting, and I'm still reading it every day. Thank you.
We have several questions in the chat. The first question comes from Norma from Colombia. She says, "Thank you, Enrique. I'm very aligned with your opinion or point of view. I ask, if secularism has been so harmful for the kingdom, what is the other position? If secularism is so harmful for the kingdom, what is the other position that should be adopted so that it becomes a contrary movement, contrary to secularism, or more in pro of the kingdom?" Thank you, Norma, for your question. Well, of course, that's precisely what we're actually talking about here in this discussion here. We have to return to simplicity, but we don't have a way of doing this. The simplicity in this case would be to work based on what Jesus left us, which is very simple, which is basically do the will of the Father. Recognizing the Father as our Father and recognize men as our brothers and sisters. That's the only thing we have to do. The problem lies that we reject, when I say us, I say a large part of humanity, we reject this idea because we actually are stuck on materialism, with power, with all of these things that occur in this new era that we're living in. So therefore, very soon, the soon to come generations are going to discover that happiness is not out there, is not in the car, is not in the house, is not in all of these material aspects, and politics and economics, finance. None of that can actually bring us that true happiness to man. At that moment, that's when people will truly be completely saddened with the system that we currently have today. And in that moment, that's when people will actually be open to receive the message of the Father and work in pro of that direction. But in order to accomplish that, it's important for us to be the voice of Jesus ourselves. We need to be the voice of the Spirit of truth. And we need to be working always in service, and more service toward our brethren. Many times, we become desperate, and we become so desperate to see the amount of misery and suffering that we see. We become desperate, and we would love to solve all of these problems right away, but we feel completely impotent because we don't even know how to proceed, how to even eliminate a minor part of these sufferings and all of that disgrace that is occurring in our planet. And therefore, we become paralyzed because we feel like we are impotent. What we have to think about is that we ourselves, we have a circle of people around us that are close to us, and that we, together with these people, we can work and we can add something. And every day when we add just one brother or sister in our in our center, if we're able to little by little change and showcase the Father just to one additional person, that in itself is a multiplying factor. And that's what we have to do. We, at an individual level, we're not going to change the world. But yes, if we, each of us, add a little, that change will occur. And as Jesus said, the gospel will govern the world or rule the world. Very simple. Last question. Marinette Morales says, thank you, Enrique. Hi. I wanted to ask you if you think that in the Urantia book, we can find parts that will help us guide us to leave this ideological era. Yes. Well, I think that there are many references in the Urantia book or many teachings that indicate or tell us the work that we need to do repeatedly, and mostly in the life and teachings of Jesus in book 4. Jesus continuously repeats, go out and share the gospel. Your work basically is to disseminate the fatherhood of God and recognizing the brotherhood of man. When we see a stranger or somebody that we don't see every single day, or that we run into somebody and that person is surprised with our love and surprised with our service, then we can touch that person's heart, touch that person's soul, and create possible opportunities for disseminating and showcasing the teachings of Jesus. We do not have to do big things. No, we have to just simply be the light. We have to be of service. We have to love. We have to respect. And that's the only thing that matters. Everything else will come on its own. Thank you. Anybody else? Victor, last comment, Victor, and then we'll have Enrique close the session. Please go ahead, Victor. Well, very quickly. Well, listen, I continue to think, well, about 2,000 years ago, they crucified the master. And 2,000 years ago, they crucified our teachings. And they continue to be crucified up to this moment. The teachings continue to be crucified. And for 2,000 years, everything was preached the contrary, the opposite, what he never wanted. That was what was preached until today. So this, well, and taking the gospel based on blood and sharing it based on blood, like when they reached Africa or when they came in with the Crusades and sacrificing vassals here. The same thing happened here in Latin America and Mexico. There's a place called Veracruz. They came in and they say, this is the way of the cross. And if you see this, right? And if you did not convert and become religious, then they would take out their spade and they would kill you. So that was history, and that's how it occurred. And well, I think we lost him. And I don't know, he got cut off. But now what we have to do is to share the gospel in a more beautiful fashion, and creating groups like this, and like with all of you and with all of us. Yes, I think it's possible. It is possible. Yes, it can be done. Thank you, Victor. Okay, so do we close the session, Jeannie? Yes. Thank you so much to all of you. Obrigado, or thank you, my brothers in Portuguese. It's been a pleasure to be here with all of you. Many of you, or some of you, or have a way to contact me, but never forget, the large ship is the one that always has to be pushing forward. And who is that ship? It's all of us together. That union is made when we associate ourselves with all of our brothers. As we all know, we are working right now in order to have more unity. And if we achieve that with the fellowship and with the association, we can co-build this great ship that can be useful to all those smaller boats that are coming near us and work in that direction. Thank you so much to all of you. May the Father bless everyone. Let's see each other soon.